Hello everyone and welcome to a new unit. We're working on unit 6, lessons 1 and 2, and our topic is let's eat. How do you feel about that? Let's get started. So our learning objectives for today are, for reading, we're going to read a recipe and reviews of a dish, a text about healthy snacks, and a text about food in Africa. And we're going to write a paragraph describing a picture and an online review of a cafe. As for listening, we will listen to a conversation about what food there is, an interview about healthy drinks, and a conversation in a cafe. As for speaking, we will ask and answer questions about food in a picture, along with giving advice and ordering food in a cafe. For language, our focus is countable and uncountable nouns, along with should, shouldn't for advice. Our life skills for the whole unit is decision-making and problem-solving, and issues we will discuss are preventative health. Let's get started. Okay, so I'd like you to look at those pictures carefully and answer the question, what food can you see in those pictures? Can you name them all? Do you know all of them, or do you know some of them? Let's look at picture 1. Of course, we eat this kind of food when we're having a barbecue, and Egyptians like to add it as a side dish. We can eat it with bread or we can eat it with protein. And of course, this is hummus or tahini. Both are correct. Okay, let's look at number 2. Number 2 looks very nutritious. It's full of greens and it's multicolored. And this is, of course, a salad. It looks like a fattoush salad, the Lebanese salad, but it could be something else. Let's go on to number 3. Of course, everybody loves those. We eat those during our feast. So number 3 is biscuits, but in American we call them cookies. Number 4 is, of course, my own personal favorite, and it is peppers or bell peppers. Okay, number 5 is very nutritious, but sometimes it's quite salty, and they are olives. They could be green, they could be black. Number 6, we usually have this during breakfast time, and it is cheese. So number 6 is cheese. As for number 7, we use this during cooking time, and this is, of course, salt. Number 7 is salt. Now, number 8 is a very, very healthy fruit. We usually have it in the summer, and it is figs. Now, number 9, I'm not sure if it's the most healthy, but it is, of course, crisps or potato chips. And number 10 are actually made of grapes that are dried up and they turn into a snack, and it is, of course, raisins. So what are raisins made of? They're made up of dried grapes. Number 11 is also quite nutritious and healthy, and it is, of course, nuts. It's a mix of nuts. Now I want you to research what kind of food is healthy. Okay, so out of all of these kinds of foods, I want you to think, what is the healthiest? Okay, which kinds are the most healthy? Is it carbohydrates or proteins, or maybe fruits and vegetables? Number 12 is, of course, sugar. We use it with coffee and tea, but I want to ask you, is it the most healthy? Yes or no? Now we're going to jump to our research part. I'd like you to research what kind of food is healthy. What kind of food is healthy? So look up those kinds of foods and tell me what is the healthiest. And then we're going to read the conversation between Muhammad and Ragab on the lower left-hand side. What food do you like? What food don't you like? And then Ragab answers, I like nuts, but I don't like olives. What food do you like? And then Muhammad answers, I like salad and meat. For our final part in this slide, I'd like you to look through the unit and then find what is a popular food in Morocco. Let's move on. Of course, it is a tagine. So In Morocco, people create lots of tagines that are filled with both protein and vegetables. It's very, very healthy. Now we're going to jump to our language section. Look at the photos on page 54 and complete the table. So over here, we have a table that has countable nouns and uncountable nouns. So basically, what are countable nouns, guys? Can you guess? They are actually nouns that we can count. They can be singular or plural. So we can use a or an before a singular countable noun. The plural usually ends in s. What about the uncountable nouns? These uncountable nouns don't have a plural form. We cannot count them. We cannot use a or an before them. So let's look for examples of countable nouns. I like nuts. Nuts is a countable noun because we can count one by one. It's easy to do so. What about drink? I need a drink. Can I say we need drinks? Yes, of course. So a drink is a countable noun as well. Now, what about cheese? Can I count cheese? I like cheese. Can I say I like cheeses? Of course, this is grammatically incorrect. So cheese is an uncountable noun and I cannot use a or an before it. What about water? Can I count water? Of course, it's impossible. So it is an uncountable noun. Now you can open page 54 in your workbooks and complete the table. The first ones are done for us. So nuts are, of course, countable nouns and cheese is an uncountable noun. So now the rest of our countable nouns are nuts, biscuits, peppers, olives, figs, crisps or potato chips, and raisins. However, the uncountable nouns that we cannot count one by one are cheese, hummus, salad, cut up salad, and salt along with sugar. Now we're going to listen to Nadia and her brother Omar, and we will answer the questions. The first question is, which two things do they not have? Let's get started with our listening section.
Let's make lunch. I think we've got all the food. There's some salad. Is there any hummus? No, there isn't. But there are some olives. There are some peppers too. Good. Is there cheese? Yes, there is. I've got it. What about figs? Are there any figs? No, there aren't any figs. There are some raisins. That's good.
Now, let's answer the question. Which two things do they not have? If you're not sure, you can rewind and listen one more time. Of course, the answer is they do not have hummus or figs. They do not have hummus or figs. Now, let's move on to exercise 3. We will read and circle the correct words. You can listen again and check if you need to. So number 1 is done for us. Let's read it together. Is or are there any hummus? We will say, is there any hummus? And the answer is, no, there isn't any hummus. Now let's move on to number 2. There are some any peppers too. So we can say, there are some peppers too. There are some peppers too. As for number 3, are or is there any cheese? So we can say, is there any cheese? Number 3, are or is there any cheese? In this case, cheese is a singular, uncountable noun. Therefore, we say, is there any cheese? As for number 4, we will ask, is or are according to figs. We ask ourselves, is figs a singular noun or a plural noun? If it's a plural noun, we will say, are there any figs? Are there any figs? The answer is no, there aren't any figs. Number 5, there are some or any raisins. In this case, we will say there are some raisins. There are some raisins because raisins is a plural countable noun. Now let's go to our speaking section. We're going to play a game with a partner and then we will ask and answer questions. Is there any cheese? Yes, there is. Are there any biscuits? No, there aren't. Of course, this is picture B. So we can play together and let's get started. Are there any tomatoes? Yes, there is. Is there any bread? No, there isn't. Are there any cookies? Yes, there is. So, of course, this is picture C. This is picture C. So you can play this game with a partner at home. Now we're going to jump to our writing section. I'd like you to write a description of one of the pictures in exercise 4. There's some cheese. There aren't any olives. So instead of speaking, I would like you to do the same thing but through writing. So you can write a description of one of those 4 pictures. Remember to write in capital letters the beginning of a sentence along with the correct punctuation mark at the end. Now we're going to jump to lesson 2. I want you to look at the photo and the recipe and answer the questions. Let's look at the recipe together. This is a recipe of ruz belaban, which is Egyptian rice pudding. This is called Egyptian rice pudding. Don't you all love it? Of course, we all do. Now we're going to look at the ingredients on the left-hand side first. 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water, 3 cups of milk, 1 cup of sugar, 1/4 cup of raisins, 1/4 cup of nuts, and 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Now, as for the instructions on the right-hand side, number 1, put the rice and water in a saucepan. Number 2, boil the rice and water for 20 minutes. Number 3, add the milk slowly as you stir. Number 4, add the sugar and stir again. Number 5, put the rice pudding into bowls. Number 6, put the raisins, cinnamon, and nuts on top. And number 7, put the rice pudding in the fridge. So let's go back to answer the question in number 1. The 2 questions in number 1. Did you eat this food at home? You can say, yes, I ate this food at home, or no, I didn't eat this food at home. Can you make it? You can say, yes, I can make it, or no, I can make it. So this is Egyptian rice pudding, of course. Now, let's go to exercise 2. We already read the recipe. Now we need to put these pictures in the correct order. Number 1 is done for us. So number 1 is picture F. As for the second, which is number 2, boil the rice and water for 20 minutes. This is picture A. We have to boil the rice on the stove. And number 3, add the milk slowly as you stir. This is, of course, letter C or picture C. And number 4, add the sugar and stir again. In this case, this is picture E. So number 4, picture E. And number 5 is, of course, put the rice pudding into bowls, and that is picture D. You have to put the rice into bowls. And number 6, put the raisins, cinnamon, and nuts. This is our decorating at the end, which is letter G, picture G. And the last one, put the rice pudding in the fridge. This is picture B. Good job, guys. If you need to redo it, you can rewind and start over. We're going to look at the words in bold in exercise 2 and then answer the question, which can you see in those pictures? And then we will complete the table together where we will categorize which is the equipment used in bold and which is the verbs used for cooking. So the pictures we can find for the words in bold are cup, which is found in pictures E and F. We can see the cup being used, and the saucepan is being used in 4 or 5 pictures, pictures A, C, E, and F. As for the verb boil, we boil in picture A, and for picture B, we find the fridge. Now, we're going to sort out the equipment and verbs for cooking from the words in bold. So we will add teaspoon as an equipment, saucepan as an equipment, and fridge as well. As for the verbs for cooking, after boil, we find put, add, and stir. Put, add, and stir. Good job, guys. Now we're going to move on to read the review of the recipe. Who did not like it? So you can read the titles or subtitles for each review to be able to know. For exercise 4, of course, Salim did not like it because he gave a 2-star review. Are these sentences true or false? Number 1 is done for us. Let's read it together. Fawzi and Nabila think the recipe is very good. This is true. Fawzi thinks the recipe is easy. This is also true. Hannah likes the raisins in the recipe. This is false. She does not like the raisins in the recipe. Number 4, this is Hannah's favorite recipe for rice pudding. This is false. And number 5, Nabila makes the rice pudding for her family. This is true. Salim likes rice pudding with more sugar. This is, of course, false. So, a lot of enough, too much, or too many. We can use these expressions or these words with countable and uncountable nouns. Which one means as much or as many or as you want? So, there's a lot of sugar. There's a lot of rice pudding. There's enough rice pudding. There are not enough ingredients. There are too many raisins, and there's too much sugar. So, which one means as much, and which one means as many, and which one means as you want? Try to guess. Now we will move on to the speaking section, work in pairs. Now look at these photos and use the table to make sentences. There are a lot of nuts, or there are a lot of people. There's too much milk. Now, you can say there's too much milk. There are a lot of figs. You look at the number of figs in the basket in the second picture. You can say there isn't enough rice. There's a little bit, not enough, or isn't enough. And you can say there are too many people. You can say there aren't enough nuts. And there are lots of tomatoes. Now, for our exit slip of the day, I want you to categorize the images into countable and uncountable nouns. Thank you guys, that's a wrap. This was Ms. Sara Bassiouni. Have a wonderful day ahead.